Hello guys, my name is Veronica Winters, and in this video I'd like to share one of the ways drawing fur on white paper. There are several ways of doing it, and I'm going to show you the easiest one. In this video you'll see me draw the actual big piece, which is 20 by 30, and it's done on Canson art board, and the color is white. So the first thing that I do, I design the image in Photoshop using my various references, and then I transfer the drawing on my paper or board. The first step that I do, I establish the color base. This is a long process compressed into a few video clips. To establish the base for the fur, you need to draw out and shade all those uneven dots or pattern that you see on the tiger or jaguar. Use short strokes and medium pencil pressure to map out those dark dots. Establishing this first color base is a long process, and obviously you can see me draw through the shapes and basically applying this color base to the entire image, because obviously I cannot draw one area to the completion, leaving out the rest of the image untouched. That's not a good start, because whenever I draw, I try to unify everything in my image. And the easiest way of achieving that is to use one or two colored pencils, shading the entire image, thinking of my darks first. So you see me switch between different parts of the drawing, establishing, focusing on the shadows, establishing the shadows in the basic color that I see in every shape that I draw. Once all the shadows are in place and the major shadows are established, I basically take my Tombow mono eraser and begin erasing those areas that need to be white, observing the curvature and strength of the line. Also, I want those lines to look uneven and overlap each other. And that's how I establish the basic lineup of those lighter lines on the jaguar. I do the same thing going through its fur, changing pencil direction and the length of the stroke to create uneven textured lines. Step number 3. In my next step, I basically take the color that needs to be taken, that I see being present around those lighter parts, and I shade right next to those established lines. I shade with colored pencils a lot darker than the lines, and it helps me create that illusion of making the light line looking even whiter. And I use a variety of colored pencils. Basically, the colors that I see in the picture, I apply on the jaguar using, shading around those strongest lines that I created in the first step. Some of them get shadowed over, some of them are thicker, and other lines are thinner. And I try to observe the thickness and curvature of the line to make it look more realistic. Step number 4. In this step, I take my soft white colored pencil and I strengthen some of the lines like whiskers. Usually I don't have to use the white on the fur, but if you feel like you lifted out some of the lines and they still appear to be unnoticeable, you can use the white as well on the lighter side of the jaguar. So to build up the texture, I basically go through the same process over and over again by erasing some of the lines and adding texture around those lines. Overlapping and shading over the lines some to create this unevenness that we see in the fur. I'm also thinking about lightness and darkness of the area because one side of the face is lighter and another side is darker, and that tells me what colored pencils I must use to build up this texture. I usually erase at least 2 times in different directions, and I shade with colored pencils all over and around those areas many times over to create the softness of the fur. This is one of the ways to lift out the whites to create texture. Sometimes I use the X-Acto knife to do the same thing, but I find that if you have never done it before, you might scratch your paper because you need to hold the knife at a particular angle, not to scratch the paper, rather lift out the buildup of pigment off the page. This drawing took me about 6 weeks to complete, working on it 6 or 7 hours a day because colored pencil is a very time consuming medium. Decide for yourself how big or small you want to go and practice on a small piece of paper first to understand the basics of the technique, and then you can experiment and apply it working on larger projects. I hope this demonstration helps you in your creative endeavors. Check out my podcast, which is available on all platforms. And don't forget to visit my website, veronicasart.com, to see new work, get inspired, or maybe you'd like to learn how to draw and paint. You're welcome to take one of my online video classes. So please visit veronicasart.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Take care. Bye-bye.